Good morning. Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. I'm Tiffany Johnson. I am the CEO and founder of the Ecom House. I have been with Amazon for almost 8 years. I created Amazon's $150 million Black Business Accelerator, and I've helped thousands of sellers on Amazon, sellers in the US, as well as sellers expanding into Canada and Mexico and growing their accounts there. A little bit about the Ecom House. We're the clubhouse for e-commerce most unapologetic change makers. And we are focused on democratizing access in the e-commerce space for BIPOC and women founders. So really excited to kick off this training today to get you all up to speed for Q1, which is a super busy time for many sellers on Amazon. So a little bit about
Tiffany, sorry, before we dive in, I just wanted to say, hi, I'm Katie. I'll be in the background. If you guys have any questions, please drop them in the Q&A and we'll save time at the end. But I'll let Tiffany kind of take it away and finish her presentation.
Amazing. Thank you. And I want to give a special shout out to the 8Fig team, Katie and Emma, for just being great partners and giving me the opportunity to host this training for their community and some of my community members. So
You're so welcome.
Thank you, Katie.
We love
And
working with you, Tiffany.
Thank you all for joining. So overall today, we're going to talk about a few things, the understanding Q1 challenges, strategies for success in Q1, and then I'm going to share a few helpful tools and resources. And then lastly, we're going to open it up for Q1. A little bit diving deeper into it, we're going to dive deeper into topics on why this quarter is particularly important, which spans from January to March. And also, we're going to dive into some of the challenges that sellers face on Amazon. So, for example, overstock, dealing with returns, understock, managing their PPC campaign, managing cash flow to ensure that you all have the right tools and resources to be successful in Q1. So first things first, let's talk a little bit about the Q1 challenges, which is a distinctive period for Amazon sellers marked by both opportunities and challenges. So here are a few challenges that should be top of mind for every seller on Amazon. The first one is post-holiday sales drop. So historically, many sellers experience a 30 to 50% drop in sales in January compared to December. Rightfully so, because it's the holiday in November, December. Customers are really excited, they're giving gifts, but then come January and there's that significant drop. This drop can significantly affect cash flow and inventory planning. Then we have consumer spending habits. Some of the trends we've seen is that after the holiday season, consumer spending shifts away from discretionary items to more so essential products. So in Q1, there's typically a 20% increase in sales for products like health and wellness products. People are really big on their New Year's resolution. They're hitting the gym. So we see an uptake in that specific category. Then the next challenge many sellers may face is inventory management challenges. Some of these can be overstock. So often face overstock issues post-holiday leading to increased storage seller costs. As you know, Amazon do charge a storage fee, and these are things that sellers should be thinking about. There's also the issue with understock. So sellers tend to underestimate Q1 demand for certain products, which can result in loss of sales opportunities. So effective inventory management can improve sales efficiency by up to 30%. So you want to make sure that as we're thinking about these challenges, we're thinking about how we're going to manage our inventory for Q1. Diving a bit deeper into overstock challenges, there's an increased storage cost. So as I mentioned, Amazon charges for storage space in their warehouse, and these costs can escalate quickly for unsold inventory. This not only ties up your capital, but it also adds to operational expense. There's also cash flow constraints. So overstock tend to tie up your capital in unsold goods. So think about your returns, reducing liquidity, and the ability to invest in new products or marketing efforts. So we'll dive a bit deeper into the solutions on how you can overcome these specific challenges later on in the deck. The next issue that sellers may face is understock challenges. So on the flip side, understocking is having too little inventory, which can be very problematic. Some of the challenges we've seen with this is missed sales opportunities. So if a product runs out of stock, especially if it's in demand, sellers will miss out on potential sales. And this is particularly true for items that become unexpectedly popular in Q1. So you want to be thinking about those trends to be ahead of that curve. Then we have customer satisfaction. So stockouts can lead to longer delivery times and disappointed customers, potentially harming the seller's reputation and customer loyalty. So from a customer obsession standpoint, you want to make sure that you are thinking about how you're going to overcome understocking for the new year. A big topic that many of you may or may not know about is Chinese New Year's impact on supply chain. So this is a big issue, specifically because annual factory shutdown. So Saturday, February 10, 2024 is Chinese New Year's, which often leads to widespread factory closures in China. And they often last for several weeks. This traditional holiday during which manufacturing and production come to a near standstill. So if your manufacturers are in China, you want to ensure that you are thinking about the upcoming Chinese New Year, which can have an impact on your supply chain. Chinese New Year can also have supply chain disruptions. So the halt in production during Chinese New Year's tend to cause disruption in a global supply chain, affecting inventory levels as well as your lead times. The delays in production and shipping are also common, which can result in stock shortages and delay in order fulfillment for many Amazon sellers. Another huge challenge that sellers don't think about is just that overall competitive landscape. So it's the New Year's, there are so many influencers who are talking about selling on Amazon. People are trying to kick off their New Year's resolutions, start a new Amazon business. So you want to think about the new sellers on Amazon. So post-holiday period, we see an influx of new sellers, which tend to increase that competition. You also want to think about the price wars. So because there are so many returns, there's leftover inventory, sellers often reduce prices to clear inventory, making the market more competitive. So as you're thinking about Q1, you want to think about how you're going to beat that competition in such a competitive landscape. We also see there needs to be a marketing strategy adjustment. So during Q1, consumer spending habit change. So consumer interest requires a change in marketing focus and tactics. Also, ad spend, you want to strategically reallocate your ad spend is necessary due to changes in consumer search behavior. So further along, we'll talk a little bit about how you can leverage AI and change the keywords to ensure that you are matching the consumer trends that are being searched on Amazon. So we dove a little bit into these challenges that can really impact your business in Q1. So how do we navigate these challenges? How do we ensure that we are planning ahead to make sure that you are all successful in Q1 and you're not missing out on any opportunities that persist? So number one thing every seller needs to do, the first things first, is to review your historical data and trends. So I'm very big on data. I think data can have a huge impact on your business, from sales to customer experience to product improvements, etc. So you want to analyze previous Q1 sales data to identify any patterns in consumer behavior. You also want to track post-holiday trends, so noting which products or categories performed well, and you want to assess marketing campaigns from the past to identify what worked or what didn't. And to dive a bit deeper, you also want to ensure that you are reviewing your Q4 performance. So first things first, your sales. You want to highlight what was your total sales for Q4. You want to break down those sales by product categories or best selling items. You also want to review your customer feedback. So taking a look into your Amazon Seller Central for any sort of key insights from customer reviews, um, and also showcase positive feedback and address any identified areas for improvement. I think why this is particularly important, you want to make sure customer feedback is high in Q4 for many of the products, because that can give you some sort of insight on what your return rates are going to look like. The other thing you want to dive deeper into is just your inventory turnover. So looking at the rate at which inventory is sold and replaced in Q4, you want to evaluate the efficiency of your inventory management. One other important thing as you're diving deep into Q4, I think it's extremely important for sellers to conduct a SWOT analysis. So these are your strengths, your weakness, your opportunities, and your threats. So specifically for your strengths, you want to identify and emphasize area where your business excels. So example, this can be a strong product portfolio, effective marketing strategies. Specifically for your weaknesses, you want to acknowledge and address any challenges that you face during Q4. That could be inventory shortages, customer service issues. That way you can clean those up before ahead of Q1. And then the big one is just opportunities. So exploring potential areas for growth and improvement. This can be untapped markets, new product opportunities, and lastly, threats. So it's really important for sellers to recognize external factors that may have impacted performance. So they taking a look at things like increased competition. Are there any sellers who are within the same category or selling the same items that you need to keep an eye out for, as well as looking at any supply chain disruptions. The next thing that to help sellers be successful in Q1 is diversifying your product offerings. So this can look like expand into in-demand products. So as I mentioned in the challenge section, we do see a change in customer habits. In Q1, customers tend to gravitate towards more health and wellness products. So it'll be really important if you want to see significant success in Q1 to introduce items that align with Q1 customer trends, like the wellness and organization products. You also want to leverage market research to identify products with rising demand in Q1. And towards the end of the presentation, I'll share a few tools that every seller can leverage to implement some of these solutions. Then we have our seasonal adaptation. So adjusting your inventory to include products relevant to New Year resolutions and winter needs. As you all know, New Year's resolution is a big time. Everyone have these big, tremendous goals, and Amazon will be one of the places that they will be heading to help them meet those goals. You want to capitalize on the shift in consumer focus post-holidays. So all in all, diversifying your product range helps mitigate the risk of post-holiday sales drop and tap into the new customer segments. The other point I'd like to make on being successful in Q1 is managing your cash flow effectively. This is extremely important. So in Q1, we often see a declaration of in sales post holidays. So it's really critical to adjust your financial strategy to accommodate this shift. So we want to start by examining your cash flow for specific patterns from the previous year to predict that upcoming cycle. So a careful review will help you budget for the slower season and avoid cash crunches. The other thing, we want to maximize your Q4 gains by allocating funds towards inventory that has historically sold well in Q1. So looking back at your data and then allocating cash towards that specific category, or more so inventory that aligns with Q1 market trends. Like I said, the health and wellness and organizational products for the New Year's resolution. This specific investment can help you sustain your business when the overall sales velocity has a dip. We also want to be proactive about managing cash flow by exploring various financing options early. This can include partners like 8Fig, Amazon Lending, short-term loan, or bank loans, which provide necessary capital to stock up on inventory without depleting your cash reserves. I'm a big fan of using other people's money, so ensure that you're tapping into all of the resources that are available to get additional cash reserves. And then lastly, we have our operational expenses. So these should also be scrutinized. You want to prioritize spending on activity that directly supports sales and that defers any sort of non-essential expenditures until the revenue streams stabilize towards the middle of the year. Next point is setting competitive pricing and promotion. So you want to ensure that you have dynamic pricing. As I mentioned, there are several sellers, and Amazon in some areas can be a little bit oversaturated. So you want to make sure that your pricing is dynamic and you're standing out from the majority. So every seller should be thinking about how do you implement responsive pricing strategy to stay competitive and profitable. You want to utilize tools to monitor market prices and adjust your pricing accordingly. So look across other platforms and see what sort of prices they have for similar products and price your products accordingly. We also want to double down on strategic promotions. This is extremely important because employing well-timed discounts and promotions to clear overstock or returns. And we want to ensure that we're attracting those budget shoppers. We want to focus on products with high stock levels from Q4 to make sure that we're getting those off our hands and it's not just sitting within storage if you're using FBA. And then lastly, we want to make sure that we have effective pricing strategies that can boost sales during the slow Q1 period and help maintain healthy inventory levels. So making sure that there is no sort of overstock happening and we're getting those holiday inventory off our hands. Then the fun part is Amazon SEO and PPC tips. So to be successful in Q1, you want to make sure that you're leveraging SEO. You want to ensure that you're revising your product listings to include Q1 specific keywords, catering to the change in search trends. So as I mentioned, customer habits change in Q1. They have specific needs. If you sell within those categories, you want to ensure that you're shifting away from those holiday keywords and then stepping into the top keyword searches that a customer may have at the start of the year. We also want to optimize descriptions, so making sure that your descriptions aligns with the needs of the customer and images to improve visibility or appeal. So a lot of the times in Q4, sellers tend to update their listing with little bows, the Christmas trees. We want to make sure that we're doing away with that and just stepping into the new. The next tip is just focusing on PPC campaigns. So every seller should be monitoring increased investments in PPC campaigns, targeting Q1 specific high conversion keywords. You want to make sure that you're allocating budget to PPC campaigns to those specific keywords to help drive additional clicks or to ensure that your product is on the first 5 pages of Amazon. As many of you may or may not know, customers will shop within the first 5 pages. If your products are not shown up there, you want to ensure that you're leveraging PPC and SEO effectively. All right, so we called out Chinese New Year's big time. There's a lockdown in warehouses, and there's delay shipments for sellers. You want to make sure that you're planning ahead for Chinese New Year. So there's a quote, you can fail to prepare or prepare to fail. Many sellers tend to utilize Alibaba. They utilize Chinese manufacturer. Preparation will be extremely crucial in Q4 for Q1. We want to anticipate these disruptions by planning well in advance. So this can be placing orders earlier than usual and consider increasing your safety stock to cover the period of the factory shutdowns for Chinese New Year. The other thing too that sellers can do to plan ahead of Chinese New Year's is to diversify your suppliers. And I'll share a few platforms that you can leverage to diversify your suppliers. This will help specifically reduce dependency on Chinese manufacturers during this period. Also, you want to explore alternative suppliers in different regions as a contingency plan. So whether it's Canada, whether it's US based, that's another option that you should be considering to plan ahead. One critical piece to plan ahead for Chinese New Year is ensuring that you're communicating effectively with your suppliers. So maintaining that open line of communication to stay informed about specific Chinese New Year schedule as they vary by specific manufacturers. You also want to adjust your ordering and inventory strategy based on their operational timelines. And then lastly, to plan ahead for Chinese New Year's, you want to think about the impact on Q1 planning. So incorporate the effects of Chinese New Year's into your Q1 sales and inventory planning. You want to ensure that you're understanding this impact is crucial for ensuring adequate stock levels and maintaining customer satisfaction. All right, so returns. We've mentioned a bit that returns is really big during the start of the year. Everyone went wild in December, and now I don't want it. It's time to return it. To overcome this, you want to ensure that you're streamlining your return process to handle post-holiday returns efficiently. So going back to it, plan ahead, looking at that historical data, and seeing what were some of the top items that were rated low. If they're rated low, you can expect that customers will be returning those items. You also want to inspect, refurbish, and restock viable returns as quickly as possible. And you want to develop a strategy for liquidating non-restockable returns to recoup losses. So thinking about platforms like liquidation.com, and there's eBay, there's some other platforms that you can leverage to ensure that you're not at a total loss. Being customer obsessed will be extremely important during this time. So thinking about how you can focus on customer retention. So first things first, implementing a loyalty program to encourage repeat customers, or engaging with customers post-purchase through follow-up emails, requesting feedback, and providing exclusive offers. I think too, also providing coupons. Amazon has several features of how you can retain your customers. So ensuring that you are tapping into the resources that Amazon provides will be extremely important to retain those customers after the holiday season. You also want to set clear goals and objectives. If you're not very goal oriented, you don't know what you're looking to target, you're setting yourself up for failure. So as a seller, ensure that you're establishing clear sales and performance targets for Q1. So go through a goal writing process and think about what targets you want to hit in Q1 and then work backwards from there. You also want to monitor progress regularly and be prepared to pivot strategies if goals are not being met. So don't be tied down to one specific strategy. If it's not working well, it's okay to pivot. And then being flexible, this is extremely important. We talk about not being tied down to specific goals. In being flexible, you want to make sure that you stay informed on current events and be ready to adapt strategies quickly. In this day and age with social media, things change within the blink of an eye. So you want to make sure that you're leveraging the tools that you can keep you informed on what's happening within your ecosystem. You also want to keep an eye on the competition and the industry trends. So being ready to seize any opportunity or respond to any threats. There may be a new seller who pops up in your category. There may be a customer review. There may be a TikTok post that pops off about a specific category that you're in, and you want to make sure that you are being flexible and you're putting the right plan in place to seize those opportunities as they come up. So I shared a bit about how you can be successful. My style of training, I always like individuals to leave with the how to. How do we implement these solutions that I have shared? So I put together a slide on a variety of tools and resources that you can leverage to implement some of these strategies. So first things first is essential tools for successful Q1, specifically for inventory management. So there are a few options. The first one is Jungle Scout. Jungle Scout is used for tracking stock levels and forecasting demand. Many sellers are aware of Jungle Scout. There's Helium 10, which offers comprehensive inventory management features. And then there's also Inventory Lab to streamline any sort of inventory tracking and profitability analysis. So hope you all are taking notes. Feel free to take a snapshot of this slide. Then we have pricing optimization tools. So there are tools like Repricer Express, Feedvisor, which is an AI-driven pricing optimization tool. And then we have Be Cool, Repricing Central. For SEO and keyword research tools, we have Merchant Words, Ahrefs, Sonar. These are all tools that you can leverage to capture high traffic keywords for your listing or get in-depth market research that you need to plan ahead of those trends. For PPC and advertising management, there's tools like Selix, AdBadger, PPC Entourage. These tools, all they do is integrate with Amazon for PPC campaign optimization. Some of them allow you to bid management and keyword optimization. And then PPC Entourage specifically simplifies and optimizes Amazon ad campaigns. Then we have analytics and reporting tools. This is important as we talked a little bit about just understanding that historical data from the previous year or just diving deeper into your data from Q4. These tools are going to be extremely important, one of which is Seller Board. Seller Board provide real-time profit analytics and expense tracking. And then we have Managed by Stats, which provide detailed insights into sales and customer demographic. And then lastly, we have Cash Cow Pro, which provides extensive analytics covering various performance metrics. All right, so that's a wrap for our training. I'm going to take a pause and we're going to open up the room for questions.
Hi, I'm back. Ready for questions. All right, so it looks like, thank you, Tiffany. That was amazing. So it looks like we have a couple of questions, so we'll run through those. So our first question is, says from Anonymous, but oh, there it goes. Sorry, my screen was wigging out there. All right, so the question is, thinking of Chinese New Year and potential supply chain disruptions, what sort of contingency plans or backup plans would you advise sellers to have in place?
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah,
Katie?
so it says, thinking of Chinese New Year and potential supply chain disruptions, what sort of contingency plans or backup plans would you advise sellers to have in place?
Yeah, I think specifically for supply chains disruptions in Chinese New Year's, given that there will be a significant amount of factories shut down, you want to think about other suppliers, maybe not in China, but Canada and the US. Thinking about platforms like what's that platforms? There's several manufacturing platforms similar to Alibaba within the US that you can leverage. I think to just stocking up on some of those inventory prior to Chinese New Year's to make sure that if you do run out within the fulfillment center, you can restock those and not have to depend on your manufacturer during that time.
Perfect. Thank you. And then we have one more question. Someone is asking, what are some ways to handle any potential inventory surplus after the holidays without resorting to big discounts?
Mm. I think campaigns, running those PPC campaigns, um, updating your keywords, so leveraging the different tools to drive more clicks and give you visibility within the first 5 pages on Amazon will be really important. So finding more ways to gain visibility, maybe working with some influencers. There's the Amazon Influencer Program, partner with influencers who can help provide added visibility to some of those products. Those are some alternatives that comes top of mind for me.
Awesome. Thank you. And then we have one more question. So someone is asking, they've heard that there's a bump in sales traffic from people who got Amazon gift cards, maybe for the holidays. Is this true? And if so, how can sellers take advantage of it?
Oh, I don't know if that's true,
You
but
don't
I
know if
can
it's
look into it.
okay. That's fair.
I can follow up.
Okay, yeah,
If
we'll follow
you,
up with
yeah, if they send me a message on Instagram, I can do my due diligence and follow up.
love it. Perfect. Amazing. Well, Tiffany, thank you so much. This was honestly one of, oh, it looks like there might be another question. There's another question. I lied. One more question and then we'll wrap up. Are there any pricing methods that can help sales and to manage inventory levels during slower periods beyond post-holiday period?
There are. So the tools that I've shared can be used beyond the holidays, like Repricer. You can leverage those tools to manage your pricing beyond the holiday season. And Katie, if you don't mind, I'm happy to share this deck with the group. That way they can tap into some of those tools that I've shared.
Yeah, absolutely. So those listening or on the call, we will send out a recording of this presentation. And then I can create this into a PDF and link to it in the follow-up email as well, so that if you want to check out some of those tools and other resources, you could have them. Awesome. Well, Tiffany, thank you so much for joining us today. This was a really great webinar, lots of really good content. So hopefully those kind of tuned in right now are feeling like they can get, set up for success in Q1. Again, thank you. And we will see you soon, Tiffany, hopefully for another one.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you guys for having me. Thank you everyone for attending. Katie, you have my QR code to the Ecom House. But if you're on Instagram or LinkedIn, Instagram, it's Influenced ED by Tiffany. And then LinkedIn, it's Tiffany Johnson. So feel free to reach out to me. I'm always happy to provide any sort of insights to ensure my sellers or customers have the resources they need.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And we'll see you all soon. Have a good one.
Take care.